Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony about giving this call should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your full name for the record.
Michael Wayne Hurlocker.
Is it Sergeant?
It is Sergeant.
Sergeant Hurlocker. Where are you currently employed?
Alachua County Sheriff's Office.
What is your employment?
Canine supervisor.
What does that mean?
I supervise a canine unit.
What is the process? What has been kind of your process to become K9 supervisor?
I've been on the canine unit for about 16 years. I did about 9.5 years as a canine handler. After that, I took the supervisory test, got promoted to sergeant left, went back to patrol, worked patrol. And then after that, a canine sergeant position opened up. I spoke to our captain and he appointed me in that position. That's how I got back in K9 as a supervisor.
Okay. What does the K9 supervisor do?
Oversee payroll, training, scheduling, deployments, approval of reports, staffing issues, certifications, inventories, vehicle maintenance stuff. Pretty much anything to do with the deputy itself.
And how many deputies have or operate with K9s at Alachua County Sheriff's Office?
Period. Not how many I supervise, or just general?
Correct. Let's go.
15.
And how many do you supervise?
I supervise 10 of those.
Have you ever had a use of force complaint related to K9? Related to the K9 on duty?
Use of force complaint. No, as I know of, nope.
What is your role? What is, I guess, let me back it up. What is Alachua County Sheriff's Office's role with training other agencies? What does that look?
Basically, if they show up, they show up. If they show up, whatever training I have scheduled for my own agency, they can participate in. Really, I don't. It's kind of whenever they show up and train.
Is there? I'm trying to understand. Does Alachua kind of in the private market be like advertised services, right? So how does Alachua inform other agencies that it assists with training of canine officers?
So for Columbia County, word of mouth. So for Columbia County, I just don't remember if we sent something out to all the surrounding agencies saying we're hosting a school. I don't remember what we did, and it was a while ago. So word of mouth, generally speaking. And sometimes I will send out something saying, hey, we're hosting a school if anybody needs something.
What is, and this is just me trying to get an understanding, some people say there's no dumb questions. There may be some dumb questions today. But is Alachua County Sheriff's Office canine training affiliated or sanctioned or otherwise certified or in conjunction with the FDLE?
We do work in conjunction with FDLE. Like I'm an FDLE instructor and evaluator.
Related to the canine unit?
Related to the canine unit, yes.
Okay. And I guess just take me back and help me understand the educational component of canine officer training. Does an officer have to go through some sort of training to have a canine in the state?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
FDLE mandates 480-hour school or their equivalency, which is what we do. And so they lay out, FDLE lays out the guidelines for what you teach from, kind of what their certification is. We teach their certification, what they require you to pass, ultimately the end of the school. Pass the school, you take their certification.
How many canine officer schools, to the extent you're aware, are there in Florida?
I have no clue.
I think you indicated loosely that word gets around through word of mouth. I'm trying to just get a framework of, an officer goes to police academy, right? The Florida equivalent of it. They become an officer. They then get interested in canines. What does that officer have to do to use a dog on duty?
Complete a 480 hours canine school, and then certify their canine through FDLE through their certification, which evaluators do. So an FDLE evaluator will come and evaluate the dogs at the end of the school.
At the end of the school. Is the 480-hour course accredited, or I guess accredited by university?
No, that's why it's an equivalency.
Who runs, for lack of a better term, and I think I'm going to use for this, the school that is this Alachua County Sheriff's Office's school, or is it affiliated through some other university or
Sheriff's Office.
Okay. What are we talking about here insofar as regularity? How often are these classes offered?
Myself,
Yes.
I teach about one a year.
For the sheriff's office, how often do they have it?
That's for us. I teach about one a year for Alachua County Sheriff's Office, and during that time, we'll open it up to another agency if somebody wants to come.
Approximate 20 a year. In one of these annual courses, is that fair to call it an annual course?
No, it's a school if we need it. So next year we may not do one at all.
So as needed to train officers.
Well, it's for the dogs. Dogs get old, they retire, they die untimely. Something happens, we add a position, we'll teach a school.
Okay. So for the coursework, when was the last time you taught a class?
Teaching one now.
There's one ongoing right now. And before that, when was the last?
Sometime last year. Sure, the spring of last year, probably.
For the one now, how many canines are in participate?
There's 2 in it currently. No, excuse me. There's 3 in it now.
And last year, approximately?
Probably 2 or 3, if I had to guess.
Is that common? Is that a common number, 2 or 3, or how does that deviate?
All depends on what we need. I mean, it could go anywhere from 6 to 2 or 3.
Do you recall David Harvey and Canine Officer Drago?
Yes.
Drago. Do you recall what year that training was?
2018. I'm like 90% sure.
Okay. Do you recall how many dogs were in that class?
Probably 6, 7.
Did you know David Harvey before that class?
No,
Have you interacted with him outside of that training period in 2018?
interacted with him.
Do you know him? Is he a social friend?
No, I don't think I have him on social media at all. Never hung out with him.
Baseline. I am trying for this series of questions. What I'm trying to understand is kind of if there's any baseline commands or education, essentially, a dog needs to enroll into, this school. What prerequisites are there for a dog to qualify for Alachua County Sheriff's Office's canine school?
Object to the form. You can answer it.
I can answer it.
Yeah, you'll hear me object from time to time. I'm
Okay.
objecting for the record, so
Okay.
you can still answer.
Okay. There's no real requirements for me to get into the school. Now I can see something in the school, but just to come and participate.
Does a dog need to know basic commands to qualify? Sit, stay, heel.
No,
No.
no,
Is there an age requirement there?
no,
Either high or low?
no.
Same thing for the officer. Are there any prerequisites for the officer to attend the election?
No.
Are there breed qualifiers or disqualifiers for the dogs to qualify for things?
Yeah, I would say there would be.
What is that?
Well, I mean, if you're coming through a patrol school or detection school, so a patrol school, the dog would need to be a dog that's more apt, you know, what I mean, like the German Shepherd style, a Belgian Malinois, something to that side. So yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I have not ran into that, so I can't speak on it personally, but I would say yes, there would be.
If somebody brought a Pomeranian,
Correct.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to attend the school.
that we
Yes, or if somebody showed up with like a 6-month-old puppy, they couldn't attend the school. So there are some guidelines, absolutely, but I have not ran into something like that.
What's the process for an outside agency to?
They would send a letter on like agency letterhead to the sheriff requesting permission. It comes like through our chain.
Is there a cost to it?
No,
We've talked about 480 hours. How is that broken up? Is it consecutive? Is it work days? How does the 480 hours kind of add up for lack of better?
we do. I'm pretty sure it's how we did his school too, but we do Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days.
So that's 40 hours, and then you go 12 weeks.
Yeah, I think 12 weeks. Yeah.
Is the school, I mean, obviously the ultimate end result, the accreditation by FDL, they make the call of whether the dog and if the dog is qualified for service. So
That's right.
Right. Okay. is there any passing or failing of the class as far as Alachua County Sheriff's Office is concerned? When you pass or fail?
I'm sure that, so no, I don't have nothing. So there's not like a test if that, I don't know what you, if that's what you mean. There's no test or something in process where I fail somebody out. So no, I mean, I guess you could fail out at some point. I could fail you out of the school.
Have you ever done that?
No,
Have you ever had a bad experience where somebody doesn't show up or you know, is truant or not actively participating in class?
no.
These are people's school years.
Yes, they're career, yes.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Anything stand out about David Harvey's time with you in training?
Not really.
Anything stand out about Drago's time?
No.
How? Just let's talk about Alachua County Sheriff's Office for purposes of the next few questions. How does it select its dogs for service?
I go, it takes a couple trainers with me. We go to the kennel, which has been Southern Coast Canine lately. We go there and we run some exercises on them. We do socialization. Then we'll run a hunt drive. Then we'll take the dogs off site. We'll expose them to different environmental things to make sure they're okay with environmental stuff. And then we'll do some bite work stuff with them to make sure they're okay engaging the decoy or suspect. And that's kind of what we run on them, and we'll do a startle test.
Okay. Those dogs are sourced locally?
New Smyrna Beach.
Does Alachua County Sheriff's Office use English or another language to command their dogs?
A mixture of English and German
Okay, there are some German
commands.
within. Is that where a dog will either have German or a dog will have English, or is that where a dog could have commands in both?
They'll have commands in both, but not the same command for, or one behavior won't have two commands. That makes sense what I'm saying?
Okay, explain, and we're gonna get into a lot of that, because that's
Okay.
where I have a lot of questions. But help me understand what you.
So like sit and then plots is the down. So plots is plots. We won't use plots and down. It's plots. And so plots is a German command. Sit is, well, seats technically is a German command, but we use sit. So that's an English command. That's what I mean. So the commands that we teach the dogs can be German and English, but only one command for one thing.
Why's that?
For me, because I don't want to confuse the dog or the handler. We keep stuff simple.
Okay, why is it important to keep it simple?
I don't want no confusion to happen with the handler or the dog.
Why is it important to eliminate confusion?
So nothing happens. I want to ensure that the handler and the dog are on the same page.
And is that a part of the training that they go through?
Yeah.
Are all of Alachua County Sheriff's Offices, police canines trained with some German commands?
Yes.
Which commands does Alachua County Sheriff's Office use that are German based?
We use the bite command, the heel command, the down command. The tracking command. I think that's about it. Because the Hill command, which is FOOS, we use for recalls and for obedience. So that's the same command that would be used to teach that.
What is Vite?
By command is Pokken,
And down,
is plots,
tracking,
Zook,
and zones.
ZOOK. So
Pocket those plots, is there any other German commands that have been called?
9. That's a correction command.
What do you mean?
It's like a no command. I don't want you to do something.
What English commands are generally used in training?
Set. Seek and search. I think that's not it.
Have you ever worked with A9 or police expert named Charles Meslow, MESLOH?
Not that I recall.
Are you aware if he's ever attended any of the training?
No.
For this current class that you're teaching, how many outside agency canines are involved?
2.
2 out of the 3.
So
Which in charge of materials. I'm going now to the training course manual.
thank you.
We'll attach that as plaintiff's exhibit 1 with this deposition. Sergeant, I've just put in front of you a document. Are you familiar with that document?
I am
What is that document?
the canine manual. The sheriff's office
How is it used?
uses a guide. We go to for the canine school to go through.
Is this part of the handouts that the sheriff's officers who are enrolled, or I guess law enforcement officers who are enrolled, receive
Yes,
and they're taught from this?
we are as a guideline. Yes.
Okay. What do you mean, it's a guide?
Well, we kind of, we go through the booklet itself, teach through the material, and then we'll go out in the field and do practical application stuff.
Of the 480 hours, how much is classroom?
200, roughly 200 hours.
Balance?
Then yes,
Do you know who drafted this Alachua County Sheriff's Office basic team training course manual?
I do not.
Have you had any role in editing it or drafting it?
I've changed it since this one. Yes, this is an old version.
You know, if this is the one that was in place in 2018.
It seems like it is.
Would you expect this to be what they departed this season?
Yes, sir.
page 3, marked Columbia Bowman 005-398. It says housekeeping and class expectations. Are you there?
I am.
In number 7, it talks about my bio, canine handler trainer for 11 years. Is that referring to you?
Yes, it should be.
And then it says we will have 2 FDLE canine trainers in this class. Who is the other? Oh, there we go. Deputy Arnold and Deputy Ritter. Are they still with the agency?
No.
No questions, dumb questions. Good. We'll have that outlined. So I hope that applies to this deposition. The last hour of every day will be used to enter canine notes. What are canine notes?
That's basically their reports each day throughout the canine school. They document everything we do. At the end of the day, they put in their canine program. I'm not sure what program they use, but they put in their canine program. And then at the end of the school, the FDLE evaluators will look through their canine program, ensure they met their requirements, they document their stuff, and do the certification.
What's noted by canines?
You mean?
What would their notes consist of as taught or as referenced in the canine training?
Kind of a walkthrough of what we do. Whatever exercise we're doing that moment is usually is whatever was occurring at that time, whatever their dogs did, anything we worked on with the dog, stuff like that.
Now, when they finish this 480-hour class, does the training of a dog stop there?
No,
Why not?
this is the minimum requirement.
Okay. What is Alachua County Sheriff's Office's expectation of upkeep of training of a canine?
For us, we train 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, every month. So yeah.
Is there an FDLE baseline for continuous training?
So FDLE doesn't mandate continuous training. A court case does. Per versus City of West Palm Beach, they dictate canine training 16 hours a month.
I'm going to direct you to page 5402. What is this? It says K19, or sorry, K19 training course out.
Kind of what we're going to go through the canine school. This is kind of an outline, kind of what we're going to touch on, stuff we're going to do.
The syllabus.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Moving to the next page. It discusses, we go through different areas of this dog utility. Then number 8 is evaluation. As an instructor in this course, help me understand the evaluation aspect.
I'm not sure exactly the point what that was put there for. I don't know if they're referring. I didn't write this part. I don't know if that was for the FDLE evaluation at the end. At the end of this course, you'll be evaluated, and this is the topics you'll be evaluated on. Is what I'm guessing this is for. We evaluate the dog throughout the entire school, seeing where they're at and make sure they're progressing like they should.
In law school, they sometimes teach you to the test, right? They teach you how to take a bar examination. I understand your school is giving broad training on different areas of utility for a police canine, but do you do you instruct the attendees on what to expect during the FDLE testing portion?
Yes.
To be fair to say, some portion of the 480 hours you teach to the test, you teach them how to, what's expected.
Yes, we do.
Are the German commands, let's just go with pocket. Of the attendees that attend Alachua County Sheriff's Office's school, is Pocken taught to all the dogs, or is there some that use English for the same domain?
They should all use Pocken. Yes.
Why?
Yeah, I hate to say because that's what we've always done, but it's kind of what we've always done.
Okay.
I mean,
Is there, at some point, I think somebody said that, you know, there might be, I'm completely speculating, but we should probably interject that. So, but that there's some usefulness in teaching dogs German so that a layperson can give them a command or interfere with a command. What's your understanding of that?
Check.
so it's an old school mentality thought, really.
Okay.
Early on we were kind of taught that we use German commands so citizens couldn't give the bite command or something like that. But the dogs are pretty in tune to the handler, so they don't listen to other people anyways. So I think maybe to a point it could be a little bit, but yeah, I don't think that's a huge role.
So you train, do you see sometimes dogs that maybe somebody retired and they're retraining to another officer, that they have to go through schooling separately for that dog?
They do.
You know, if you were involved in Drago's training the second building.
I was not. Pretty sure, no, I was not.
Do you know Alachua County Sheriff's Office was?
No, we shouldn't have been. I don't remember doing his second one. No. I think they did in-house. Not sure.
Next page, sorry, 5404. A few questions about this. Canine team training course goals and objectives. What is this document?
It's like it's a further outline of what we're going to be going through the canine school. And what's going to be taught over.
The canine will be taught the basic and advanced obedience commands. And then there's 5 objectives. The handler, I'm starting from 5. The handler will demonstrate the canine's ability to maintain a command even though persons pass by at a distance of 6 inches to 2 feet. Help me understand that skill, that emphasis of training.
It's a socialization skill FDLE requires. So we put the dog in a sitter down and evaluators, FDLE evaluators have to walk around the dog to ensure the dog doesn't show active aggression towards somebody.
And 3, the handler will demonstrate the canine's ability to be controlled from a distance of not less than 50 feet. Help me understand that objective.
Same, we have the dog will be left in a sit or a down, we'll walk that distance away, then we'll control the dog by putting it back in the sit and a down and calling them to us.
Are the dogs supposed to make decisions on what to do within their line of duty without commands? That makes sense.
Now what you mean, what you getting
Okay.
at?
Let me come back to that because I want to get more specific.
Okay.
That's fair. 5406, that's a question, please.
Mhm.
The topic of criminal apprehension. The goal, the canine will be able to apprehend a suspect under any conditions, return to the handler on command and protect the handler if necessary. And then there's certain objectives. Walk me through those objectives and why they're.
You may read them to you.
Yes.
Like one handler will demonstrate canine's ability to apprehend a suspect under normal conditions.
And
Yep.
then why is that? Help me understand the importance of that objective. We'll walk through them.
That's just a controlled environment where the dog comes out. The decoy is not putting stress on the dog. The dog will apprehend the individual. No gunfire, nothing's involved. It's just, I'd say.
And then we're going to escalate, it seems. So
Yep. Then the handler. Number two, the handler will demonstrate canine's ability to apprehend the suspect while under gunfire. Same thing. So there's two outs. The first one, then the second one is the decoy will fire a blank gun at the canine as it pursues. The dog will engage. Decoy, no working out.
And that's part of 280 hours or so of field training.
Yeah, that's part of the FDLE school.
Okay.
Correct.
3.
And then the handler will demonstrate a canine proficiency in recalling upon command.
What is that?
The dog will be released to apprehend the decoy, and while the dog commits to a pursuit, the dog is recalled off of the decoy back to the handler.
Okay. What is the proper way to do a release for an apprehension?
Objective one.
What is trained? And if you don't understand my question, because I want you to help me shape my question.
Okay.
No dumb questions.
No.
If there are under the law. So what I'm trying to understand is a handler and canine are side by side.
Okay.
Okay, in this scenario. What is the Alachua County train an officer to send that canine to apprehend a suspect?
So like the decoy.
You
talking about on I'll speak over the decoy real quick.
Okay.
So the dog sits behind the handler. The dog has to stay in the sit until the handler releases the dog. So the decoy starts to run, the dog stays, the handler releases the canine, he can pursue and apprehend the decoy.
And what do you mean by handler releases the canine? What is that?
It's a control, and the dog's not allowed to move until the handler tells him. So the dog sits there, and then when the handler tells him, he can release to go bite the decoy.
Is it up to the handler to hold the dog back?
No. No, his hands free.
Okay. Why?
This is a control measure through FDLE. Okay. The dog stays until he's released.
Okay. There's not supposed to be a physical element of holding a dog back to prevent release.
Objective one.
In the canine certification, that is correct. For certification purposes only, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Help me understand the distinction you're drawing.
Well, because that's a controlled environment where it's set for certification purposes.
Okay.
The dog is doing a specific task. That's not a deployment on the road where everything's unfolding unexpectedly. We only know what's going to happen until a road deployment is different because we don't know what's going on yet until everybody dives out of the car and everybody's screaming. So we don't know what's happening or to a building. So this is this part here is a controlled environment for which we will do the FDLE standard for.
Okay. But and I understand that training's different from in the field, right?
Yep.
But the training is supposed to, I guess, the way that it's trained, the way it's trained is a handler and canine are side by side, and the canine doesn't release until the command is given.
That's right.
And that does not require physical restraint of the canine before release.
That's right.
But in the field, the objective changes.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, let me understand.
Well, the dog still is obedient in the field. The same way, he still gets released to bite, even on our actual deployment. But all I'm saying is, I hope I'm not explaining this right. I'm just saying there's a distinction between a controlled environment of a certification and then a deployment in the streets and patrol. But the dog is still attached to the handler via leash. It's still controlled. The dog is still told to do something, to bite somebody. So all that stays the same.
Okay. Let me take it a step further. Are these dogs so trained that, are these dogs trained such that they know when to apprehend without command?
Objection.
They could. Yes.
Is that trained in Alachua County Sheriff's Office?
The dogs are trained to apprehend a subject that, say, on a track. If a dog tracks and locates a hidden suspect, they can bite that person with no commands.
And if it's not a track, help me understand the proper protocol, where you have a subject 20 feet away and that dog needs to be sent. Is there a command required?
Objection upon.
They'll give a bite command, yes, after canine announcements.
What are canine announcements?
They'll give a canine warning and let the individual know the dog's going to be used.
And then you would expect for that dog to proceed to that person, what command?
The bite command.
Which is pocking.
That's right.
How many times?
As least as possible. But I can tell you what an individual will do. We trained the least as possible one time, but I couldn't tell you what an individual will do under stress.
Training is one time.
Yeah, 1, 2 if we have to, but we usually try even once.
Why is it trained not to repeat a command?
Well, because the dog doesn't need to be told more than one time to do something. Same with sit. Tell him one time.
Okay, number 4. Handler will demonstrate the canine's ability to respond to an imminent assault upon the handler. What does that mean?
We don't do this anymore. That's we call a guard position. The handler will put a dog in a down, go to pat the suspect down. Like we took a suspect in custody, we'll go pat him down. The decoy or the suspect will attack the handler. The dog will protect the handler.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
FDLE took it out.
Training for the test.
Yeah, I don't know why they do that. Yeah, that's correct. We just don't. They do some stuff. We just don't do that anymore.
Or the handler will demonstrate the canine's ability to respond to an imminent assault upon the handler. What's the objective there?
We just talked about that. That's the guard where the handler. Yeah, we just did that one.
That's right.
Yep.
The handler will demonstrate the canine's ability to remain in a guard position during the search system.
Correct. The dog has to stay in a down, can't move while he searches somebody.
we've discussed canine going from officer to suspect. What is the trained way that a police dog is supposed to release or return?
through FTLE,
Yes.
verbal out. The handler will move up, give the dog an out command. The dog releases the bite and returns to the handler.
Okay, was the out command?
Is out. Did we go over? I'm sorry.
Is that-
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, is out. That's a release command.
For the record, out is what,
A release command for the bite.
that's, let me ask the question. At Alachua County Sheriff's Office Training School, out is trained as the release command.
Right.
What is supposed to occur upon the command out?
The canine will release the bite, and the handler will tell him to foos, which the dog returns to a hill.
I think it'd be fair to say there's no recreating the stress of that occurs in the field during training. Is that fair?
Yeah, for the most part, that's correct.
How is that? How does Alachua County Sheriff's Office train dealing with stress in the field related to canine?
Check with them.
We do a lot of scenario training. We try to replicate real life scenarios that occur on the road in our training, our sessions. So we'll run a bunch of scenarios.
I'm gonna take you to 5414. Canine equipment. What does Alachua County Sheriff's Office use related to equipment or leashes or collars attached to a dog in a road patrol situation? What does a dog wear in a road patrol?
They'll have a choke chain, a leather collar, and an e-collar.
And then what is attached? So
Then a 6-foot leash.
okay, so leash. I'm going to fast forward to 5472. What is this?
Selected training rules, concepts. That's going over basic training of dogs. I'm not 100% sure, honestly.
Okay.
Commands. It's like it's a basic training. We'll skip.
What I want to understand here is I've got to potentially eventually explain to a jury how a dog thinks, how a dog is trained. Okay. And there's some terms and instruction in here that I want to focus in on. and let's start where it starts. Use signals, not commands. What does that mean?
Objective forms indicate he was not familiar with that.
Okay.
Section.
Do you know what use signals, not commands means?
No, I'm not exactly sure what they're getting at. I'd have to read it to see exactly what he's getting at.
Okay, fair enough.
It's when we start the basic part of training with a dog, it's sometimes a signal could be something to let a dog know that something's going to occur for us. Even bringing a dog out and hooking him to a live ring signals that an OB session is about to occur. When we start dog training with food, we bring the food out, it can let the dog know something's going to occur. And then through the food, we can lure a dog into different positions. That's our hand movement with no commands, signals that something is about to happen. And ultimately, we could teach a behavior what they would ever talking to the dog.
Do you know who wrote this portion?
I do not.
The last sentence of page 5472. Dogs do not have the mental capacity to interpret mental images, therefore cannot accomplish learning. Regardless of what you do or how you present the word sit, the dog will never learn its meaning. How do you teach enrollees about how a dog processes commands or do?
They're right. A dog doesn't know, dog can't speak, they don't know English, right? They don't understand words. So we connect a word with something that the dog would want, which is a piece of food or a toy. So although they'll never learn what the word sit means, we can teach them that command means sit by luring them into place for food. So they'll do that desired behavior to get a reward from us. So we teach a dog through positive reinforcement, basically, of dog food or a toy to lure a dog and doing whatever we want them to do. So if they do something, they get paid for it. And that's how we train the dogs.
Through repetition.
Through repetitions. I don't know if I did a good job explaining.
Said it better than they did. Next page, 5473. There's some writing in the space. Phrase, never repeat a signal. You didn't use the word never. Help me understand the do you know, struggle back. Do you know if in 2018 what is written here was taught or what you said was taught related to repetition of signals or words?
What I taught.
You would disagree with the never repeat a signal instruction in this manual?
Objective.
I think everybody's got a different opinion on how to train a dog. If you ask 10 people, you get 10 responses, different responses. So we tend to repeat stuff to ensure the dog gets it the first time. He maybe wasn't looking, paying attention. Certain things environmental could have distracted the dog. So yes, there are certain times we'll repeat a command or a signal to get a dog to do something.
The manual says, if you repeat a signal, it will soon come to warn the dog that another signal is about to occur. And this will not motivate the dog to do anything, so it will not. The signal will simply lose its value to us in brain. You don't know who wrote that.
I do not, but it's not true.
think you just draw the distinction of the word never.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't use that word never.
Page 5474, the next page. And understand something. Of an expert such as yourself. Second paragraph, it starts never attempt. There's like another paragraph that's attached to it that starts with a good example. So you read that. A good example of this concept can be seen in criminal apprehension work. You would not try to build the dog's bite and introduce the out in the same exercise or the other suffer. Explain that with that.
So we don't, we're teaching a dog the release command to out release of anything. That's not just a suspect, that's a toy or anything. You would limit the praise or the play you would build into it. Because if you took a toy and you played heavily with him and you tried to tell him to out, likely he wouldn't out. He wouldn't release because you just built him up. So we don't mix the two. We don't build the drive of biting something and then try to make him release it, because those two can conflict with each other. So one often will suffer. So same for bite work. We wouldn't have a decoy wrestling around with the dog on the ground, building the drive and then try to out him. Because the out would suffer because of all the work you put into building him to bite.
How do you, I guess, explain the concept of building the drive? What does that mean?
That's just a desire for the dog naturally has a drive. So you just build a desire of the dog to want to repeat that.
And how is at Alachua County Sheriff's Office Training School, how is I'm trying to understand is how do you build a drive for apprehension? Does the question make sense?
Yes.
Okay, then I asked it.
Yeah. So we don't, in our dogs, we don't necessarily build a drive for apprehension. We just do exposure. We expose the dogs to different apprehension settings, different scenarios, different ways. Dogs have to, a lot of times, have to be exposed to something to see it. So they're likely to repeat it and be successful next time. So that's how you would build a bite drive, if that makes sense. The dogs already come with a desire to bite somebody. We just try to shape it and expose them to different things, like somebody hiding underneath the vehicle, as example, or somebody underneath a portable trailer, or underneath a bed or in a closet. You would show them all this stuff through bite drive, so they would likely repeat it successfully next time.
Why not build a bike drive?
Well, we would if we needed to. I can't remember the last dog we had to build a bite drive on. They don't require it. You would build a bite drive on a dog that was I want to say that showed timid. The dog was timid to go engage somebody, or timid to bite something. You would build that drive for that dog, individual
A
dog.
German Shepherd has a natural bike drive.
Objective form.
Yes, we select from a kennel where the dog's more likely to have that drive than not.
So for Alachua County Sheriff's Office, you first select a breed that has a natural bike drive, and then you look for dogs that even have help me understand.
We look for a dog. First thing I do is socialization. The kennel has to bring the dog out, and I have to be able to pet on the dog and
Right.
socialize with the dog. And then from there, we go into hunt drive, the prey drive, the active, the aggression drive.
Right.
We test all those things.
You don't want a dog that bites everybody.
Correct. Nope. We
So-
want a dog that can come out and hang out with us.
Right. Because the biting is small portion of what is needed.
Right.
And I guess what I'm trying to understand is in selection of a dog related to Alachua County Sheriff's Office. What do you look for to find both, right? The dog that is socialized, but will have enough bite drive.
Through the testing process. We go to the kennel. They'll bring the dog out and they walk the dog over to us. And that's part of the socialization. We actually open the mouth, look at the teeth, make sure nothing's broken. We run a little test on, we pet the dog. We do things like that to ensure that the dog is semi-social. He ain't got that roll over, but semi-social, we can go over and approach the dog. Then from there, we begin the testing process for the bite drive. Along with the hunt drive, they're willing to go. We take a toy and we'll hide it. The dog has to search and find the toy and not just give up on it. Prey drive, the dog's willingness to chase something and grab it. It could be a toy, a ball. You could throw a ball and he's willing to chase and grab it or hunt for it and bring it back to you. We do things like that.
Okay. In a question that's as similar as to which came first, the chicken or the egg, that I'm going to ask. Does the officer that's going to be assigned for Alachua County Sheriff's Office, is the officer that's going to be assigned the dog typically select the dog, or do kind of you as supervisor select the dog and put it with an officer?
We select the dog.
That's pretty common practice.
I would think so, but don't quote me on it.
Okay.
All right.
Do you know how Drago was selected?
I do not.
Did you or Alachua County Sheriff's Office have any involvement in the selection of Drago as police dog to the extent you're aware?
No.
Bottom of 5474. Never allow the dog to commence or terminate a behavior on its own without a signal from you. Is that part of the training?
Yes.
What does that mean?
If you think a dog can make a decision, then you would say you wouldn't let the dog make its own decision and do something without the handler influencing it.
Why does that mean?
It's just a control aspect of a police dog. We try to stay in control of the dog at all times.
Next line, if the dog is allowed to act as it wants, sometimes it will soon come to act as it wants, regardless of what you want. Agree with that statement?
It could, yes, if it got bad enough.
$54.79. Paragraph 2, the handler must remain amenable at all times, interrupted only briefly when it becomes necessary to bring about a correction, followed immediately by a return to the normal state of amenability. What is that?
I don't know.
And it says, we want to cause the dog to attempt to avoid the bad things the handler holds in reserve, not to avoid the handler. Do you know what that means?
No, I'm not sure what they're getting at.
Span of control, let's see. Next page, 5480. Last paragraph. Every training exercise must start with a signal followed directly by a series of events which serve to motivate the dog to behave. Help me understand that.
Again, my objection is this section he's telling you, he didn't write it.
Right.
Doesn't know who did.
Right.
So first of all, you need to establish he's familiar with that.
Okay.
That's not true.
Do you agree that every training exercise must start with a signal followed directly by a series of events which serve to motivate the dog to behave?
A lot of times it does, yes.
Okay. What does that mean?
This is kind of what we talked about. Is the dog having an understanding of what's about to occur. This you signal a dog that whatever that task is you're going to do, the dog understands that task because the signal notifies a dog of what's happening. He's less likely to be stressed about something he doesn't understand, and you're likely to motivate the dog to do what you want.
Do you know if this section was taken out of the updated materials?
I would think so. I don't remember this part.
But I think I asked this, so sorry if I'm repeating, but these are materials that are provided to that in 2018 were provided to enrollees like David Hardy,
Yes.
and they took them home.
Yes. If I remember right. Yes.
Next page, 5481, it discusses the concept of failure of transfer of behaviors in the paragraph that starts with the second paragraph from the bottom that starts with if training does not closely resemble. If you could read that, please, just that paragraph.
If training does not closely resemble actual street situations, behaviors, condition, and training may not transfer to the street. This is also called failure to transfer. This can be greatly diminished by devising training so as it to reflect close and resemble actual street conditions.
Did you teach the concept of failure of transfer? It's reference to you.
Yes.
Okay. Then help me understand what is failure of transfer?
It's when we talked about it, exposure of the dog, having the dog see things, something. So when he sees it again, it will likely have a positive outcome. Same, that's what this is. If you run scenarios in training so the dog can see something, say a dog, you would want to deploy a dog through a window of a car on a suspect. You would replicate that in training so the dog would see how to jump through a window. So when you would do this type of deployment and on the road in real life, he would likely jump through the window of that vehicle. So the same concept. We try to do street scenarios that are surrounded or likely to resemble street applications. So they're likely to repeat it when it happens. If that makes sense.
Next page 54, 42, second paragraph. Oh, second paragraph on its own. Sorry, do not rely. There's a sentence in there that talks about dogs cannot decide to obey or not obey. And it states if it appears the dog is disobeying, you must see the dog as only acting in a manner it has come to see in the past is the most advantageous given all the things that are occurring at the time. What does that mean?
Likely, if a dog's disobeying, it's a training issue. It's dog's not disobeying you. It's something, it's a failure in something you did in training that likely will cause a dog to do whatever that behavior is.
Help me understand. It's, most people just have kind of domesticated house pets, right? And they're not service dogs, right? They have their 10 commands, their pleasure animals. Crime and punishment and life and death are not determined by a domesticated house non-service animal, typically.
All right.
Certainly your stories of Lassie pulling somebody out of the fire, but when it comes to police dogs, how important is training?
Extremely important.
How important is upkeep of training?
Extremely important.
Okay. Help me understand training related to whether a dog obeys or not.
It's repetition. You train a behavior, whatever it is, through repetitions, the dog naturally learns the command, whatever it is. and also will learn a no command. And through that training, whatever that particular exercise is, he'll naturally start doing it. So it's, I would say the dog's obeying, he's obeying, but he's doing whatever he was trained to do through repetitions.
Does maintenance training help prevent a failure transfer?
Yes.
Fifty-four eighty-three, and then we'll get out of this mystery written portion of the materials. The single most common problem in dog training is a feeling of conflict between handler and dog, resulting from the handler having a poor or incorrect understanding of the dog. Would you agree with that?
You could, yes.
Going to 5488. You recognize this portion of the manual?
I'm sure I read over it.
In 5489, it says prepared by Ray Ruby, 31798. You know who Ray Ruby is?
I do not.
It says Gator Textbook Training Center. You know what that is?
No.
This document, these two pages discuss.
What page?
Sorry, 5488, 5489. Discuss case law.
Okay.
Is case law or going over case law part of the 480-hour training?
Yes.
Are there additional materials provided with case law?
Probably not there. There wasn't now. Probably not. Maybe, I don't know.
5490 to 5491. That appears to be prepared by Ray Ruby, Gator Textbook Training Center, available for textbook payments.
I'm sure I read over it as well at some point.
This training is paramount. You agree with that?
Yes.
Check.
Skipping to 5403. 5403?
Oh, 3.
5503.
Oh.
This appears to be says 77. You just asked, do you know what this document is?
Our canine policy.
Okay. Here it is. Does during training, does the Alachua County Sheriff's Office bring to its policy?
Trained to it.
Does that make sense? So during the 480-hour course, are you training portions of Alachua County Sheriff's Office policy, such as the what's written in 54503?
No.
you're just providing your policy and.
Yeah, we're proud of the policy. I don't dictate anything they do with their agency.
Okay, fair. Under Roman numeral 12 guidelines for bite situations, bite considerations. A1, canine handler should exhaust all reasonable means to effect an arrest without incurring a dog bite. Is that part of the training course?
For outside agencies?
Yes.
No, I'm sure it's spoken over during the course of a 12-week school, but no, we don't specifically teach that.
What's a bite ratio? What is a bite ratio? The distinction.
Well, I've heard a couple of different ways. Bite is the number of bites you have towards the number of deployments that led to apprehensions or bite to compare deployments that led to a successful apprehension without a bite.
Are bite ratios part of the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office course?
No.
During the coursework.
Well, I had to go back for a second on that.
Yeah.
So yes, I do talk about bite ratio with my canine unit.
With your unit or with the class?
I could speak about it with the class. I'm not 100% sure back then, but it is something I do go over with my own unit. Okay, make sure I clarify that.
We can take a break or we can press on. Does anybody need a break?
I'm good.
Right, we're on an hour. Okay. Are you familiar with the concepts of verbal resistance, passive resistance, and active resistance?
Yes.
What's the difference? Verbal, passive, and active.
Verbal resistance is verbally getting resistance from somebody. Passive resistance is used to be defined as tensing, bracing, somebody who's just not compliant, but they're not trying to do anything really. And then active is somebody who flees on foot or takes an avert movement.
Okay. Are officers trained at Alachua County Sheriff's Office training school, canine training school, that verbal resistance warrants use of force by police canine?
No.
Same question for passive resistance.
No.
Active resistance.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
There could be a dog could be used in an active resistor that doesn't meet the requirements. However, the dog's never used unless the criteria meets that use. So what charges do we have? It would always come down to what led us to that situation.
What are the requirements for use of police canine in an active resistance situation?
To object his line of question, asking for his opinion, he's not going to list it as an expert. You can respond.
They use so our policies changed now. It's back then it was any arrestable offense. Now it's felony and misdemeanor violence. So as long as they meet one of those requirements, the handler could choose to use the dog. It's the handler's discretion what they do.
Back then in 2018,
2018, correct.
what was the policy then for Alachua County Sheriff's Office?
Any arrestable offense.
Allowed canine use of force.
It could, yes.
I was qualified it would could.
Well, it's the discretion of a handler, what they choose to do.
Is there part of the coursework that gets into reporting of incidents? Sorry, that's a terrible question. Does the coursework get into when a nip or bite or use of force by a canine is to be reported?
Yes, it would definitely does now. I'm pretty sure it did then.
What's your recollection of what the policy is?
Object to the form. You're asking about training or policy?
Training. Did I say policy?
Mhm.
What's trained? What was, as best as you can recall, what was trained in 2018 related to reporting of nips, bites, or injuries caused by a canine?
If we spoke about that, it was probably over what we do at the sheriff's office, how we handle it.
How do you mean?
Well, I'm notified immediately of it, of the incident. EMS is summoned to the scene. They write a report. They document it. Pictures are taken of it. I do a supervisor report of injury, and I notify my chain as well.
Does it matter what level of significance the nip or bite is
As for
reporting?
no,
Does it matter whether it's a sheriff's officer or a member of the public?
no, we still do the same thing.
Why?
We just document the apprehension, the use, or it's not even, or a deputy wouldn't be a use of force. We would document it for medical reasons.
What's it called? If a dog bites or nips or you know, let me get us on the same page. What's a nip?
I have no clue.
Okay. What's a bite?
From the canine when they
Yes.
engage a subject,
Okay.
a suspect.
If a dog puts its mouth on an officer and closes it, what is that called?
We list it probably as a bite.
Those are to be reported.
We report them here, yes. So that we document as such, supervisor report injury that deputy may need to go to the doctor for medical treatment.
Do you report signs of aggression in the field by your other animals, by your dogs?
Report, what does that mean?
Do you list whether in daily reports or training manuals, if you have a dog that has a sign of aggression, a nip, a bite, do you report that?
Object to the form.
They will do a canine report on it.
The officer in charge of it.
That's right. Everything's documented.
Is an officer supposed to trust a dog to make the right decisions in the field?
No,
Why not?
because you need to be in control of the outcome, not the dog.
Did you train that letting go of a dog's collar is an acceptable substitute for a pocket gun?
What do you mean?
That
Like the dog is being released?
yes, instead of giving a pocket command, you just simply let go of the
No.
collar. Why not?
Because they just go hand in hand. When you utilize a dog is being used to apprehend somebody, you give the bite command. This is the way it's trained.
Why is it important?
You're giving the dog to command it for what he's supposed to do.
What is, so 180-hour course work. Dog is certified and trainer, dog and officer are certified by the FDLE as a pair.
That's correct.
What does the FDLE do or require for recertification?
An annual certification is completed.
Tell me about that.
So that's agency dependent. At the Lottrell County Sheriff's Office, we use FLECA, Florida Law Enforcement Canine Association, for our annual certification. I think Columbia County does too. Pretty sure. So every year you recertify the dog and all the what's the word I'm looking for? And everything he was taught in the school. I think ain't the right word, but obedience, bite work, building searches, area search, everything he was taught, he gets recertified every year in.
Okay. How does that process work? What does FLECA do?
They send out 2 evaluators, or it could be 3. It's according to how many they have available, how big we are. They'll send out evaluators and they come out with their little booklets and they watch the dog perform all of those routines, exercises.
Do they audit training logs and all of that, or they just make sure the dog is obedient?
They do not audit training logs.
Okay. All they're doing is looking to see that the dog demonstrates appropriately in the field.
Correct.
Under low stress to no stress circumstances.
Generally speaking.
Well, let me do this. Let me take a break and then we'll have about one more session and then we'll be done.
Okay.
Let me chat with you on the break. Sergeant, have you reviewed the video in this in the, I guess it's the subject of this lawsuit?
I did. I don't remember. I remember hearing a little bit about it, but I don't think so.
Okay. Would you give me one of those dishes? This one? I just want to run through videos and the questions that I'm going to ask you simply are related to deviations from training. Okay. You see any, and we'll go through on it. I'm going to just have them check.
And before we start, I want to put an objection on the record to those type of questions. As again, he's rendering his opinion here. He's not listed as an expert. I object to him giving his opinions on the questions you may have in regards to training that you want to show in this video.
Thank you. So far, we've marked plaintiffs 1. We will mark. I'll leave you probably. Maybe I'll just leave. I'm driving. You can go to it, but I'll mark the Harvey dash cam as plaintiffs 2. The video that I have as an exhibit would be 36 minutes and 17 seconds. I plan to show just a few minutes of that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Starting at 1 minute, 42 seconds. And then we stop at 1 minute and 58 seconds. You've done road patrol with K9.
Right?
I hear who I expect to be, or pretty clearly is, K9 Officer Drago in that. No such thing as dumb questions, right? Is there anything about the barking or whimpering or the noise made by the K9 that tells you, or that is usual or unusual?
Check to the form.
So I will say some dog, my canine I have out there never barks on traffic stop or anything. He never says anything. Other dogs bark all the time in the cars, and some dogs will bark when they're doing something active. So I don't know that his dog specifically what his demeanor normally is.
Starting 51 seconds. The audio will cut in here shortly. The audio gets.
Yes, I know. Okay.
I'm stopping at 151. With a little bit, kind of all the context we have before the stop, is there anything? I think what I understand you to say is every dog is different. You can't really gauge baseline noise made by a dog without understanding that dog's
Demeanor, personality. That's right.
Okay.
Come get 35. 27 for me, it's in that 35. Hopefully, Monday, getting on the level of control. 7, 35. I'm not a woman. Ten 35. Yeah. Morning. There's no getting
Down, Gersten. Sit down.
Okay, now.
Keep your hands behind your back, okay? Like they're not, to the same you were saying. Use all commands. Oh my God, my leg is going. How old are you? 17. 17 to you. Keep walking.
Started at 6'10", where I believe we can see the canine being taken off.
I object to that.
Drag it, well, sorry, we're stopping the video at 6'10". Do you see the canine in that video?
I do.
Does he appear to be apprehending or biting Mr. Bowman at that point?
Object to the form.
No.
Okay. What deviations did you see during?
Objective. Totally inappropriate. He's not an expert. He can't render his lay opinion on this. I object to his testimony altogether.
I don't know what you mean deviation from training.
Did you see any deviations from what you trained Deputy Harding in the use of canine drag dog?
Object to the form.
So I can't see the traffic. I can't see the dog use at all. I can only hear stuff. And you play it back with sound keys. The only thing that sounds different is when he releases the dog, he's yelling a 9 command.
Okay.
But I can't see what's happening.
Fair. Did you hear a pocket?
Object to the form.
No, I don't think I heard it.
Did you hear a goose command?
Objective.
No.
Would it be appropriate to give a 9 command as you release the dog?
Object
As you
to the
train
form.
Officer Harding?
You would not give a 9 command if you were sending the dog to apprehend somebody.
Why not?
Well, that's his no command.
What command would you give?
Object to the form.
The pocket command is by command.
Was that good?
Objective.
Not I heard.
You were determine whether that was verbal, passive, or active resistance.
Object to the form.
I have no clue what was happening.
once a dog apprehends or bites, what's the appropriate command to get them to release?
Out command is to do a verbal out would be tell them to out.
Did you hear an out command?
Objective.
No, but he could have been using a break stick or a lift off. It's a stick that we use it put in the dog's mouth, it gags them, pops them off of a bite.
And what was the other?
He could have been doing a lift off with a choke chain.
I think I understand what you mean, but in kind of layman's terms, break it down.
Yeah, you take the choke chains up around the dog's upper neck, behind his ears, it's pain compliant. You lift it up, gags the dog so he releases something.
Would you do that after you try the command to a non-responsive dog?
No,
Why not?
we control the dog at all times. So the dog is either used a break stick or lifted off of a bite. We don't do verbal outs.
You don't train for verbal outs of the bite.
Not on the road, we do not.
Why not?
So we have control of the dog at all times. We go up the easier, cleanest way is to use a break stick. They come right off.
And we obviously can't see what happened here. What from your training of this officer and dog, what would you have trained them to do to, let me start it off. Let me start from warnings. In a situation similar to this, what warnings did you train Deputy Harvey to give before releasing a canine?
Objective one.
Their warnings are based on their policy. So we do a standard one, sheriff's office canine, whatever. The dog will be released to bite you. I'm sure that's what he was taught, but he will follow his own policy, whatever that says. I don't control what they do.
Okay. From training, or I guess from training, is it sufficient to say this is a sheriff's office canine, or that this is a sheriff's office canine that is going to be released? Do you have to warn that there's an imminence to release?
Objective one. Asking him.
No, I don't to read the case law on that, but I think it's just you gotta let them know what's gonna happen. The consequences.
What do you mean?
Like they're gonna be bit.
Okay.
They don't comply, the use of forces, they're gonna be bit.
Um, and then how do you train to release in a situation such as this?
Objective.
What is to occur in a textbook release according to Electric County Sheriff's Office training?
Textbook release would be a canine announcement, and then you release the dog, you give the dog his bite command. Dog would go and apprehend the individual.
And then what?
You would either clear hands, prone the subject out, backup deputy would go up, grab a hold of the suspect. The use of force would be removed, which is the dog, which is we use a break stick.
Textbook would not be yelling 99999 as you release the dog, correct?
Objective one.
No, that technically would not. But are we able to speak on that part or not?
Yes.
If you can.
He was saying 9 as if he thought he was giving his bite command the way he was repeating it to me. You yelling 9 as if it sounds like he was trying to give the bite command, but he was yelling the wrong word. That's what it sounds to me like, not seeing it.
But instead of a bite command, it was telling a word that the dog was trained to mean no, correct?
That's right.
want to show you one more video. We will attach this 2, 3. You know which one it is. This is James Mitchell 4621 BWC 2 14769. So 2943 with so we started at 649.
We're sorry, can we stop it, please? Is this a video in this case?
No.
Okay, so why are we looking at that video in this? So this is another case?
Are you objecting?
Is this another case? That's a
It's a
question.
different- Same
Okay, I am objecting.
I'm scared. Let's go back. I'm glad I didn't see. The boy. The boy. What are you doing? Yeah, I agree.
Like I said, 1071 up here, 428.
We'll stop it at 838. C38. Did you hear Pocket in that instance?
Object to the form.
I don't know.
Okay.
You have to play it back. If you want me to listen to it that closely.
I think I heard it. Starting back at 706. That Pocket?
Yep.
Is there is there a difference in the way you say it? Do you train officers to say it differently to convey different things?
No,
Okay. Is there a way the command is supposed to be expressed verbally?
no, there's not a specific way.
But the word that was heard around 7:10 to 7:14 sounded like Pocket.
Object to the form.
Yes.
Never take up for the square. I swear. I swear. I swear, dude. Put the hand off the back. I swear. I'm glad I didn't see. No, no. The boy. The boy.
7:57 where I stopped. Did you hear a release command?
Object to the form.
No,
Did you see anything that kind of like what you were saying was a brake stick or anything like that used? I know there's a lot of scuffling. Can you tell whether a brake stick?
I could not tell.
Are officers trained just to pull a dog off of a bite of a dog? Excuse me. Pull a dog off of a suspect. He's bite apprehending.
Objection, ask an answer.
They're trained to, that we're trained to use a brake stick or do a lift off.
Is there supposed to be a command given during a liftoff?
Object to the form.
It does not have to be.
What's the discretionary call, or what's the training regarding when you do and when you don't?
Object to the form.
There is none.
I asked you earlier about sounds a dog makes. Is there anything you can read in or not read in at about 8 minutes of this where the dog is making noise?
Object to the form.
Right here at about 8:41.
I didn't even notice.
It appears the officer is holding on to the canine. How is that? I guess, is that a deviation from training? Is a dog supposed to just obey a command to goose or plots or sit, such that the officer doesn't have to do active restraint?
Object to the form.
If he was to tell him that, he likely would have.
So what?
If he would have told him to do one of those behaviors, he likely would have. I didn't hear him. I don't know if he told him to do anything.
Any other deviations you saw in this incident?
Object to the form.
No.
Is there anything different when a dog is tracking about the protocol for releasing?
Object to the form.
What do you mean? Protocol?
So a dog is, instead of a close apprehension, right? The canine is tracking to find a suspect.
Hmm.
Does the release change according to training, or is it the same that we've discussed?
Object to the form.
Is as far as the apprehension or just
Yeah, If
tracking?
it's a human, if it's, so let's just use a hypothetical where a dog is tracking a human. Right? Because sometimes they're not tracking.
Could be.
Okay. And the dog finds the human. What is the dog trained to do?
Apprehend.
Okay. Pocket.
No, they don't have to be given the bite command.
Okay. What's the difference?
As far as what?
Training. Why not? Where is an apprehension require a bite command and doesn't?
Object to the form.
What draws that distinction?
This starts in training, so the dog is taught what the bite command is for what behavior we're looking for. Then through FDLE, we teach that command for sending the dog to bite somebody. Through a sequence of events that happens over training, the dog will learn to do something through signaling where it doesn't need to be told to do it anymore, technically. How we're still trained to do specific tasks. So the dog, through training, will learn that he doesn't have to be given a command to bite somebody.
Should the dog ever be the master?
Object to the form.
No,
Why not?
because the person has the brain.
That's all the questions I have.
All right, I've got a few questions for you.
Okay.
You were shown two videos. We'll start with the last one that was just shown to you. I believe that was a video involving Mr. James Mitchell. And you were asked, the deputy was holding the dog, the canine, by the leash there on the scene. And based on your training for canines, did you find any deviation from training with that deputy doing that?
No.
Okay. Now, you were also shown another video that actually involves this case from Deputy Harvey's dash cam. And you were asked a series of questions in regards to that. You were asked about the dog being removed from the suspect once he's apprehended. And I believe you testified that once the suspect is secured, that's when the dog is to be released. Is that accurate?
Once they're under control, that's correct.
And what do you consider under control?
Once we have compliance and other law enforcement's there to physically take control of the subject.
Okay. And if the subject is placed in handcuffs, that would be considered under control.
Yes, ma'am, that could be. Absolutely.
And in that circumstance, after the suspect is handcuffed, that is when the canine is to be released from the suspect. Is that correct?
Yes, it could be.
Now, you were asked about the Deputy Harvey saying K9 999. Actually, in testimony, Deputy Harvey said he just repeated 9. He was not given the command 9 because he released Drago to actually go and apprehend.
Okay.
If he in fact did that in this circumstance, would you take any issue with that as relates to releasing Drago to go apprehend the suspect in this case?
As far as the command he give, or what do you mean?
Well, as far as he brought Drago out to
Okay.
release him,
Right.
did you hear him give the commands that he would release the dog if the suspect didn't comply?
He did.
Oh, okay. And that's consistent with the canine training.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And then when he released the dog to go apprehend,
Right.
that's what if he was going to release the dog to apprehend, that's what he needed to do. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And as I believe you said earlier, he was not required to give the command of packing necessarily. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. You were asked questions by plaintiff's counsel about the policies as relates to Alachua County Sheriff's Office. and I believe you testified earlier that those are the policies for your agency. That's not necessarily the policy for every agency in Florida. Would you agree with that?
That's correct. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And you would defer to that agency's policies as to what they allow their deputies to do or not to do. Is
That's
that
correct.
okay? You're asked a series of questions about the Alachua County Sheriff's Office K-9 training manual. And is it fair to say, I mean, this document is, I didn't count it, but it looks like it's about roughly 200 pages. Would you say in the K-9 training that you participate in with deputies of your agency as well as other agencies, do you train everything that's in this manual to those deputies?
No, ma'am, probably not.
And you made reference to certain sections in the manual you did not write, did not know who wrote, and you were not necessarily familiar with in that manual. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff's expert, Mr. Roy Bedard, do you ever recall him attending your K-9 training?
No.
All the questions I've got for you. Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
Either
it.
way, you have the right to read this transcript for any inaccuracies, or you can waive that right.
I'll waive it.
Thank you.